Hello, 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 everyone. Today we have a very special podcast. We have Juliana and Martina from Mesh Moms, and they're here to tell us about their support group and what they do for moms, whether it's in pregnancy or postpartum. And so, Juliana and Martina, if you guys can just take the time to introduce yourselves. Juliana, you can start and just tell the listeners a little bit about who you are.
Hey, good morning. I'm Juliana. Thank you for having us today. I am a mom of three. My daughter is 5 now, and my boys are 7 and 8. And I moved to Atlanta just before my second one was born. So I have a lot of experience of being a mom in Atlanta, a new mom in Atlanta, and I'm happy to talk about that today.
Lovely, great. And Martina?
Yes, hi, this is Martina. I'm a mom of four. My kids are 2, 6, 7, and 10. And I've been in Atlanta for the past 20 years with a short stay on the West Coast. So three of my kids were born in Atlanta, and one of them was born in San Francisco. And we'll talk about my journey on the West Coast in a little bit since it influenced why and how we founded Mesh Moms. So
Love it. Every mom goes through an experience. And that's really why I founded this Fourth Trimester Voices, because I realize every mom has a story. And oftentimes, after moms go through their experiences, motherhood, they pivot their lives, right? We all have careers that we went to school for or things that we wanted to do. And then after we give birth, we have these experiences that shape our vision, it shapes our advocacy. And you all started a group called Mesh Moms. Tell us a little bit about what MESH stands for and what led you to starting this support group for other moms.
So Mesh for us was like this web that connects it all. And when we all come together, we're strong. So this is why we chose the name Mesh. And it started because, like I mentioned in my introduction, I moved to the West Coast during the pandemic, and that was when my fourth child was born. And it was just a night and day experience since on the West Coast, there are these very, very strong mom communities. Like the group in San Francisco has 3,500 members, for example.
Wow.
It's something else, something I had never experienced in Atlanta. And I mean, it was my fourth baby, and still it was just such a phenomenal experience. I met so many amazing women. I could do something every single day. I mean, obviously there are tons of social groups out there that you could join, especially online, right? I mean, Facebook groups and Midtown, I don't know, Midtown moms and Buckhead moms and single moms and working moms. But I'm not really a social media person too much myself. So for me, it was just such a great experience to be able to go out and meet moms in person, right? And we went on stroller walks and hikes and coffee and happy hour. And it was such a support network. And like I said, even though it was my fourth, I had the feeling I learned something new every single day. Yeah, we moved back to Atlanta, and I talked to Juliana and said, there is nothing like it in Atlanta. I don't know why. Obviously, we're all friends, but especially when it's your first, I feel if people are not in that same stage of life, I mean, because my friends, they either already had kids or they didn't have kids yet, it changes your life, like you said too, right? In your statement. And especially with the first one, my husband also, he went back to work after, I don't know, a couple of days. And there I was right in Atlanta with my newborn and feeling isolated and just going outside. It's huge, right? For the first time. And you sit there and you're overwhelmed and you have all these hormones and all these feelings. And that's just something that my friends from the West Coast said they never felt because they had this strong support network. So yeah, so this is why we founded Mesh Moms a little over a year ago. And what we're really trying to do is get the moms out of the house, not just to connect online, but to meet for coffee and for happy hour and for stroller walks and really to connect already during pregnancy, ideally. And then we do group the moms by the age of their baby. So let's say the baby was born in February of 24, then they are part of the January through March 24 group. So they go through the same stages with this group of women that all give birth around at the same time, that all have the night feedings and then introducing solids and then all the different stages that you go through, but you do together with this group of women that you also meet in person and not just anonymously online. So that was a long statement, but
No, I mean, it really resonated with me because I'm just thinking, I actually didn't leave my house. My friends made fun of me for this reason. At that time, I think I was the only one who had a child within my friend group. And so I ended up being in my house out of fear. And so if there was a Mesh Moms when my daughter was smaller, I would have loved to just take that leap of faith and just like jump into it and be with other moms for sure. So I think what you guys are doing really makes sense. And Juliana, is that similar experience to you?
Yeah, I wanted to add, I mean, Martina and I have been friends for quite some time. And when she called me with that idea of starting the mom group on the East Coast in Atlanta, I was all in because had a similar but different experience. Like I said in the introduction, I moved to Atlanta just before my second son was born. I think literally up to a month before we moved here. I was in a corporate job. I had my first one. Everything was running. And then here I come to Atlanta. I quit my job. I was just a mom. I had my own identity crisis. Obviously, I was super happy with my second one, but then I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have friends here, and I didn't have anybody to go out with, go on walks or whatsoever. So just like you were saying, I really missed that group that I could hang out with. And when Martina called me with the idea, I was like, okay, let's do it. Because that would have been something I really needed at that point in time.
I love that. So what do your moms have to look forward to? Like, tell me about the structure of Mesh Moms. How do you split up the moms in certain groups and how does it work?
So we group the moms by the ages of their babies. So for example, moms with babies born between January and March 2024 are in one group. The ones with babies born between April and June of 2024 are in another group because we feel that those are really the month that you go through the same challenges, the same victories, and you have a lot to talk and share about. And those are the moms that are up in the middle of the night feeding their babies or dealing with colic, so they can definitely relate with each other. We do specific playgroup events for those groups, but we also do all-inclusive Mesh Moms events. We have a lot of happy hours that are on particular topics. For example, feeding your baby or feeding your family healthy meals. We had a really great event on mom guilt, on parenting in general. So we have those happy hour events. We have lunches that are more casual, I would say, and everybody can come. You can come just during your lunch break from work, or you can bring your toddler or your baby. Doesn't really matter. We have some family events. We had a pumpkin patch outing. We had a spring festival. And then we have those walks that Martina was referring to earlier, really casual walks. We meet up every other week or sometimes twice a week and just go for a walk, have the baby in the stroller or in the carrier and go through different parks and have a coffee somewhere. We have the same for our toddler moms and meet up on playgrounds and let the kids run wild and just chat. And then a big add-on, I would say, is we offer a lot of educational events, that being a webinar on pelvic floor, for example, or they can be online or in person, or we have baby massage classes, we have music classes, baby wearing dance classes coming up, a lot of fun and educational events.
I love that. How do you identify if the mom needs extra resources or is maybe struggling with mental health challenges? How do you sort of single out the mom and try to get her the help that she needs while also not making her feel isolated within the group?
Some moms are openly sharing, and then they get a lot of resources from the other moms. It's sometimes, that encourages then others to speak up because then you really feel, oh, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this, right? So it's other times they reach out to us just one-on-one asking, is there someone you can recommend? So we do have a wide network of experts that we can refer, mental health therapists, pelvic floor therapists, parenting coaches, divorce coaches, I mean.
It happens.
Yeah. So yes, so we have those resources that we also share with our members on a platform, but also we can refer different experts one-on-one. So it depends.
Yeah, and like Martina said, we have had this all happen, and we generally feel, and that's what we say to each new member, you get the most out of it, the more you give. I mean, if you do show up to the events, you do get your information out of it. If you never come, you will definitely not experience MASH moms the same way. But yeah, just by attending, they'll get the most out of it.
Good. What is the role of support groups, right, in maternal health and maternal health outcomes? We talk about all the things that are going on in the US. We hear the dismal maternal mortality rates, and we're looking towards our government, our leaders to make all these comprehensive changes, but it really is lagging behind. And so how does the help of a support group help tackle these challenges with our maternal health care in the United States?
Well, what I found is it's really these resources that you're sometimes not even aware of. So, like I said, I had my fourth baby on the West Coast, and it was the first time I ever really heard of pelvic floor therapy. And then I had C-sections all along. And of course, sometimes you oh, pelvic floor therapy, but then you always thought, oh, the Kegels, yes, when you have the natural
Right.
birth or something, right? And I was like, oh, C-section, not for me. And then I met these other moms. No, it's also C-section for sure. And it's even covered by insurance. I'm like, what now? It took me 4 births to find out that this is actually something like my insurance even pays for and it's relevant. So these is sometimes where I always say, as long as the baby's inside of the mom, like everyone takes good care, I feel. But then once the baby's out, it's almost like only the baby. And then the mom, you really have to like fight and find all these resources out on your own. And this is also what we really hope that we can help a little bit, just the collective mind, right? And information that other people have found out and sharing those. And yeah, I mean, there are so many great resources out there. And like I said, some are even covered by insurance, but no one really talks about it. Like my OB never told me about pelvic floor therapy. So and I actually really liked her. I thought she was great, but still, right? It's like, I don't know, it's like all these different topics that you really have to find out on your own, which is frustrating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think in addition, it's community. You're not in it alone. You have your tribe. And that's something I didn't mention earlier, but we offer postpartum support groups. I call them postpartum pods. And that's for 8 moms and their babies. And they meet up 6 Fridays in a row for an hour and a half with a certified postpartum doula. And then they go through all the things postpartum. They talk about postpartum emotions, the birth story. They talk about lactation, feeding, sleep, pelvic floor, as Martina mentioned, and partner relations. And during those 6 weeks, those 8 moms typically form this incredible close connection. And we have, I think we were running it for the 4th time now. And the moms are still meeting up at least once a month and just come together and see how they progress. They meet up again after 3 months with their postpartum doula to talk about the next milestones and their experiences. And I mean, some of the moms have really given up as the feedback. Without this support group, I would have been in deep depression, but this pod took me out of my isolation, my postpartum depression, and now I'm someone. I know that I'm not alone. I can reach out, and I have my network of friends that are in it, that are not random friends that don't know the hands-on experience with a baby. I think it's really big.
That's really powerful just to think of. And one thing that you mentioned that the postpartum doula goes through is that birth story, right? Because we all go through different things, whether it's through childbirth or the pregnancy. And then we deliver a baby and we have to take care of this human, but we're carrying our story and we may not have anybody to talk to about it because we may not feel like people understand. And then the family, depending on whatever in-laws or whoever's in the house, you may feel judged. And so just having the opportunity to go to a support group and say, hey, this is my story. This is what I went through. And if for anything, it's just therapeutic, just letting it out and voicing it and talking about it, because I feel like we all just keep that inside and then we just go through life with it and it just builds up. And really, for a lot of women, it could lead to depression. And so having that platform and that pod to have these discussions in a safe place with a professional, I think is amazing what you all are doing.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you talk about any particular story of a mom that really keeps you all going and keeps you doing what you're doing, that just emphasizes the importance of your support group?
Well, I think it's a little bit what Juliana said. We really have these moms that then reached out and said, because of Mesh Moms, I made these new friends and it gave me the courage to go back to work, or the feeling that I'm not alone in this. During one meeting, they really talked for a long time just about these parent relationships and how they shift. And I think it was really, like you said, therapeutic to talk to others, because sometimes you feel, why is my marriage suddenly feeling so different? And why am I struggling? And then you hear other moms say the exact same thing. And you're like, oh, okay, it's not just me. So we hear that a lot on different topics. And so I think this is also why we keep going.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. What is the structure of Mesh Moms? If there is a mom who is interested in finding a support group who is in the Atlanta area, tell them how they can find you. How is it set up? Is it self cash pay? How do they go about getting in touch with you all?
So it's mashmoms.com is our website, also on Instagram, Facebook. We offer a monthly or annual membership. I mean, annual obviously gives you like a discount. Non-members usually can also attend our events. It's just that for members, it's either free or it's a very price to attend, versus the non-members, they just have to pay to attend. But you can also reach out and attend the first event for free and just try it out. Our event calendar is online, so you can also see what we have coming up, and just our email is online. So just reach out. We're also willing, if there's any financial hardship, that's also what we say there, definitely reach out. We want to be all inclusive. So if there's anything that's preventing you from paying a monthly membership or an annual, but you still feel like you really need a support network, again, please reach out. We're always trying to accommodate everyone. And that's what we're trying to be inclusive and be a network.
Love it.
And you can also just sign up for the postpartum pod. We have our next pod coming up starting on October 11. We have 2 more spots left and they are selling out pretty fast, but you can just sign up for just the pod to try out if Mesh Moms is a good fit for you. That's also possible.
And both of you are moms, and we're addressing other moms here through this podcast. And anytime I have a guest on the show, I ask them, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to our listeners today? And so if you each could do the same thing, I would really appreciate that. Juliana, you can start, then Martina. What 3 pieces of advice would you give our listeners?
I think definitely take each day as it comes. There is no perfect parenting. There is no perfection being a mom, especially. Relax over milestones. I feel there's a lot of pressure on reaching the next milestone. And I think that unless there is some underlying issue, all babies, all kids will reach the next milestone, but at their own pace. And then I think try to be yourself. Try to follow your own intuition and try to not be judged or live with the judgment of others.
That's great. Great advice.
Well, one thing is always, whatever kind of you say yes to, you say no to something else. It's more once you have older kids, maybe you don't have to go to all the birthday parties, or really think about maybe, do they really have to do 5 different sport activities in the afternoon? It's just
speaking to me.
Yeah. So I think sometimes it's also very important to say no, I think do focus on your marriage. I think it's important, if you can afford it, have a date night. Try if you have family in town, it's maybe easier to get babysitters, but I think it's so important that it's not just the baby, that you still have that time to connect with your partner, and or even have some special time at home, once the baby's asleep and it's just the two of you, and take the time to talk or just sit there and don't lose that connection, because I think that happens to a lot of people. And I mean, I admit it too. I think that with the first baby, we've never had as many fights as we did during this newborn phase. It's just so new. Everyone's overwhelmed, and it's different. And I think also partners have very different. I mean, my husband had no clue. He was totally overwhelmed too, but then they don't admit it. And so I would say take that special time. It's important, and try and not feel judged. I think it's, especially nowadays with social media and everything looks so perfect, and everyone has children that always are perfectly dressed and are always happy, or, the marriage is going all great, and just try and, don't feel judged, one day at a time. And I think everyone's doing a great job and they're trying their best, and it does not have to be all perfect.
I love that. This is all great advice for our moms. And just to wrap up this conversation, there is something to be said with community and support, right? We know this because there's different groups out there and people who struggle with different things, whether it's addiction, whether it's different phases in their lives. And we have support groups, we have community groups, because we're not meant to be in a bubble. We're not meant to be by ourselves. And when we are by ourselves, we think that the struggles are unique to our own selves. And we think that we are going through this, whether because we put ourselves through that, whether because we're not doing something. And unless we open ourselves to community, to people, to support, we won't understand that you're not alone. Other people have been through it, and you could really get advice to get through these challenging moments. So kudos to you, Juliana and Martina, for what you are doing. There's power in your group, and I wish you all the success with Mesh Moms. And if you are in the Atlanta area, please do not hesitate to hit them up. Get on the website, sign up. You will not regret it. Thank you so much. And that is today's episode.
Thank you
so much for having us.
Yay. Thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fourth Trimester Voices. If you have any questions about today's episode, or you want to share your story, please email us at fourthtrimestervoices@gmail.com. My name is Dr. Choa, and it's been lovely talking with you all today. Take care.